Today we're going to talk all about what happened in Edmonton's real estate market for the month of March. Well, it is springtime here in Edmonton and we have had a very busy start to the year from January on into March. And of course, in March typically is when things start to pick up. And guess what? If you've been watching my videos, you know that I've been talking about how unseasonably busy we were in January and February. So for March, when it typically gets busier, you can imagine it just got even busier. So we're gonna dive in and see how many active listings are on the market, how many sold, what is going on, and what does that mean for you as either a buyer, seller, or maybe just a homeowner wondering what your home equity looks like. If you take a look at the number of new listings that came on the market in the month of March, there was a huge increase month over month. There was over 32% more listings that were put on the market in the month of March than there was in February. Now, if you take a look at the stats for year over year, don't forget last year we were very, very quiet, but spring was starting to pick up. We also are higher this year than we were last year. We're 12.3% higher than we were last year, with 5,988 new listings that have been put on the market from January until the end of March. That's almost 6,000 listings that were put on, and you've guessed it, they're not just sitting on the market, they're also moving and not lasting. So at the end of March, the tally from the Edmonton Real Estate Board for the City of Edmonton for all properties in the Edmonton area was just over 3,600 properties. So you can see that there's not a whole lot. There usually is, I would say, double the amount more if it was a more balanced market, that's my guess. But this is a very seller's market. And of course, depending on area to area, there are more listings available than others, especially when you're in the new build areas. Those areas aren't seeing the same kind of uptick they were a few years ago. Now, that being said, they're still much busier than they were last year and normally. However, for example, in Secord, 2 years ago, I remember properties, maybe 5 properties available for sale, and now you're seeing at least 30 to 40, and that's because the builders have a lot of properties listed now, and they have more inventory. A couple years ago, they were behind. They didn't predict that people would buy so much, and they didn't even have inventory. So right now, you're still in a decent place. However, if you're selling your home in these new areas, you can still sell for top dollar, but just remember that you're competing still with the new build. So we're not as crazy as we were a few years ago, but if priced properly, it's still gonna move. Now let's talk about price for a second here. Anything under 500,000 is flying off and having a ton of showings, a ton of multiple offers. This is something that's quite huge that has been happening here in Edmonton since January, but as it continues to go into the spring months, that price point is extremely hot. 500 to 600, still hot, not as hot, not even close to as hot, and then over 600 is a lot quieter. That being said, I'm still seeing properties like our listing that was a bungalow. It had multiple offers and multiple showings the first day. So your property, the location, that still plays an effect, not just the price. When we look at prices for the average single family detached home, we're looking just over 500,000 for the average price point. And I remember a few years ago when the prices just spiked up, we hit around this price point. And then the last half of the year, because it tanked, it went right back under. That's how big of an offset we had in 2 years ago. But now we're looking at the property values and they're sitting at 502. They've been holding pretty steady and we're sitting at 502 right now. So for semi-detached, we're looking at 414,000 for the average price. Now semi-detached are half duplexes, one shared wall, and that price has gone up month over month as well. What about townhouses? Now townhouses, they have an interesting product here in Edmonton. We've got single family townhouses with no condo fees, but we also have townhouses with condo fees. They all look the same in terms of multiple walls being attached. Maybe there's 3 or 4 attached. When you look at the average price of these, you're looking at an average of 276,000. Now this price point is typically, this is more cognizant of the condominiumized ones. The new ones that are without condo fees, so those are in the newer areas and there's not as much inventory there than there is the condominiumized one. There's lots of condominium townhouses. So keep that in mind when you're looking at this average price. If you are looking for these single family attached townhouses, I would say the average price is more in the high 300s. is what you're seeing, and we're starting to see them actually in the low 400s, not 276,000. That to me would be because of the condominiumized townhouses pulling that number into that price point. If you take a look at the average days on market for the detached single-family homes, we are down to 39 days, which is 10 days even lower than last year at this time. Last year at this time, market was starting to pick up, even though it had a slow start, but definitely this year is a much quicker move. Okay, so what about the sales? What happened in terms of how many sales happened for the whole month of March? If you've been watching my weekly live videos on Tuesday, you'll see that I've been talking week over week on single family sales in Edmonton, St. Albert, Sherwood Park, Spruce Grove, and Beaumont. Now, if you want to tune in for those live updates, make sure you tune in on Tuesdays. But overall, for the month of March, we are looking at 1,737 sales in the month of March, which was 23.8% higher than the previous month of February. And if you take a look at last year's sales, we're at 38% higher in sales than we were last year at this time. So in the month of March, we saw 4,193 sales for all of Edmonton for residential sales. That is a high increase compared to last year. So you can see we are very busy moving into the month of April. April and May typically are also very busy, and I don't suspect a slowdown until June. However, no one has a crystal ball, and we don't know when the slowdown is going to come. So if you're a buyer, what does this mean for you? If you're looking to buy a home, be prepared. Not just with the pre-approval. To me, I feel like most people understand that they need to get a pre-approval, but also be prepared for what you're going to be up against. You will likely, if you're under 500, be prepared for multiple offers. Now, are there ways to avoid multiple offers? Yes, there definitely is, and I've helped my clients through that. And we have different strategies, whether it's resale or new build. But you also need to be prepared for your expectations of what you can afford and what you want. Those are two different things, and the prices continue to change. And so what you thought you could have afforded and you're happy with may now be something that you can't afford until later. So make sure you look at your expectations. For sellers, same thing. Expectations is so important. Sometimes sellers get a little too ambitious because they see the market heating up and they want to go all the way up here, and they think, well, why not? Well, there's a lot of reasons why not, and I think you need to look at the market stats, look at the pace of the sales and just the temperature of everything. We go through all that and give you a gauge of what a realistic amount is, because you can still overprice listings. There are still properties on the market right now that are overpriced, and those are the ones that are not moving. Everything moves pretty quickly right now. So your expectations as a seller is you should be able to sell your home in the first couple weeks. Yeah, I said weeks. This is the norm right now. If your house is sitting longer, you need to look at your price and strategy to see if something is going on there. Maybe your home isn't as desirable as you thought it would be. And I know there's a lot of emotional attachment when it comes to your home and what you feel it's worth, but the buyers are going to dictate the market and the seller, because if you don't agree, then there's no deal. So it's both the sellers and the buyers in terms of dictating what the market is going to be. Now, if you're a homeowner and you're wondering what does this all mean for me, well, this year your property is gaining even more equity and building equity from last year. So though we're not maybe Calgary where you're gaining hundreds of thousands of equity every year or 2 years, you are actually making quite a big gain this year. That was building on from last year. So that's a good news for you if you're looking to maybe grab some of that equity to put into some renovations or improve your home. Maybe you need a new roof. You've got some equity built in your home. If you're curious on what the market's going to do in the month of April, make sure you come watch us on Tuesdays and join in as I talk about different communities and what is happening there.